Welcome to this explainer. Look at this screen for a second. Imagine you get a message in a totally foreign language. You recognize the letters, but the words, they make absolutely no sense. Now, what if I told you there's a master key to decode it, and suddenly every single word starts giving you crucial information? Well, chemistry works exactly like that. Chemical names aren't just random. They're a secret code just waiting to be cracked. Let's dive right in.
Take a look at this one. 2-methylpropane. Can you tell the exact structure of this compound just by reading it? Does a 3D molecule instantly pop into your mind? For a lot of people, no way. It just looks like a chaotic jumble of numbers and letters. But what if I told you these chemical names are actually highly structured blueprints? They tell us exactly what atoms are in there, how they're connected, and even how the compound is going to behave.
To actually read these blueprints, we need nomenclature. Nomenclature is simply the universal system scientists everywhere use to uniquely name chemical substances. Think about it. Imagine if chemists in India, Japan, Germany, and the US all used totally different names for the exact same chemical. Communication would literally be impossible. This system ensures that when a scientist hears a name, they know exactly what compound they're dealing with. It's a universal language.
Okay, level 1, cracking inorganic compound names.
We're going to kick things off by cracking inorganic nomenclature. This includes the everyday stuff, salts, minerals, metal compounds. A huge category here is ionic compounds, which form when electrons are basically handed over completely from one atom to another. Here is your step-by-step code breaker. Usually a metal loses electrons to become a positive cation, and a nonmetal gains them to become a negative anion. The naming rule is brilliantly simple. Step 1, write the metal. Step 2, write the nonmetal. Step 3, just change that nonmetal's ending to "ide." Boom. Take NaCl. Sodium is the metal, chlorine is the nonmetal. Change chlorine to chloride, and you get sodium chloride.
Now it's your turn. Let's do a rapid-fire check to see if you've got it. Decode this compound, MgO. Apply that 3-step rule we literally just went over. You've got magnesium and you've got oxygen. What does it become?
If you said magnesium oxide, you absolutely nailed it. You keep the metal, magnesium, and you change oxygen to oxide. It really is that easy once you spot the pattern. But let's level up a bit.
This brings us to transition metals. These guys can be tricky because they can exist in more than one oxidation state, meaning the very same metal can have different charges. We need a way to know which charge is present, right? We do this using Roman numerals. Check out this comparison, FeCl2 and FeCl3. In FeCl2, we have 2 chlorine ions, each with a -1 charge. So the iron literally has to be +2 to balance it out. That makes it iron 2 chloride. In FeCl3, the iron needs a +3 charge to balance the 3 chlorides, so it's iron 3 chloride. The Roman numeral gives away the exact oxidation state.
Next up, polyatomic ions. These are basically squads of atoms that stick together and act as a single charged unit. And here's your golden rule for exams. Keep their names exactly as they are. Do not change the ending to "ide." If you see a cluster like nitrate, carbonate, sulfate, or hydroxide, just leave it. For example, NaNO3 has sodium and the nitrate ion, so it's just sodium nitrate. CaCO3, calcium and carbonate. Calcium carbonate. Spotting these clusters is going to make your naming process incredibly fast.
Moving on to level 2, mastering IUPAC organic rules.
Now we enter the massive, super fascinating world of organic chemistry, the chemistry of carbon. Because carbon can form millions of different compounds, scientists needed a really organized system. Enter IUPAC, the International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry. Let's start with alkanes, saturated hydrocarbons with only single bonds. The length of the longest continuous carbon chain gives you your root name. You absolutely need to lock this visual memory chart into your brain. 1 carbon is meth, 2 eth, 3 prop, 4 buts, 5 pent, 6 hex, 7 hept, 8 oct, 9 non, and 10 is dec. These root words are the foundation of everything organic.
Let's do another quick exam challenge. Let's combine the root word with our suffix. We've got C4H10. It's an alkane, meaning it only has single bonds, so we know it uses the suffix -ane, and it has exactly 4 carbons. Think back to that chart we just went through. What is the IUPAC name?
The answer is butane. 4 carbons give us the root but, and those single bonds give us -ane. Put them together, butane. Easy, right?
Now watch what happens when we throw multiple bonds into the mix. If the compound has at least one carbon-carbon double bond, the suffix swaps from -ane to -ene. So an alkene with 3 carbons, C3H6, is propene. Got a triple bond? That's an alkyne, and the suffix becomes -wine. So C3H4 is propyne. Just by looking at the ending, ane, ene, or yine, you immediately know if you're dealing with single, double, or triple bonds.
All right, let's hit level 3, functional groups and priorities.
This is essentially the boss level for class 11 and 12 exams. Functional groups are specific atom clusters that give compounds their totally unique properties. They dictate how a molecule actually behaves in a lab, and they determine our final suffix. Here's a quick cheat sheet for these codes. Carboxylic acids end in oic acid. Alcohols end in -ol. Aldehydes end in -ol, and ketones end in -1. Once you know these codes, you can instantly spot the structural engine of the molecule.
Let's look at a concrete real-world example, CH3COOH. The official IUPAC name is ethanoic acid, though you probably know it by its common name, acetic acid. It's what gives vinegar its kick. The eth root tells us, hey, there are 2 carbons here. The oic acid suffix screams that we have a carboxylic acid group. The name literally paints a perfect picture of the molecule for you.
But of course, exams love to throw curveballs. What happens if a compound has more than one functional group? Welcome to the Priority Rules boss fight. Step 1. Spot all the functional groups. Step 2. Figure out which one has the highest priority. Because no, they are not all created equal. A carboxylic acid, for example, heavily outranks an alcohol. Step 3. You name the whole compound based on that top priority group, and treat the lower priority ones as mere substituents.
Let's lock this in. Quick priority check. Imagine you're staring at a huge molecule on a test. It's got an alcohol group and a carboxylic acid group attached to the chain. Which one gets to dictate the main suffix of the chemical name?
Carboxylic acid takes the crown. Since it's higher on the priority ladder, the entire compound gets named as a carboxylic acid, and that alcohol group gets totally demoted to substituent status. Mastering this functional group priority ladder is absolutely crucial for those high-level nomenclature questions.
And finally, the ultimate nomenclature challenge.
You've made it through the core rules. Now let's bring it all together and consolidate everything we decoded in this explainer with a rapid-fire summary. Got a metal and a nonmetal? Change the N to "-ide". NaCl is sodium chloride. Transition metal? Throw in a Roman numeral. FCl3 is iron 3 chloride. A 4-carbon alkane? Meth, eth, prop, but. That's butane. Double bond? The suffix is -ene. Triple bond? It's -ine. Look at that. You are officially reading the code.
Nomenclature is the universal language of chemistry. It's what lets scientists across the globe collaborate without a shadow of a doubt. The more you practice these IUPAC rules, the more chemistry stops feeling like a giant list of boring facts to memorize. Instead, it starts feeling like you're literally fluent in a new language. Once you truly understand that language, every chemical name becomes a story just waiting to be decoded. So, what chemical story will you decode next? Keep practicing, and I'll see you in the next explainer.